limit their comments to 3 minutes, and that the topic be limited to the proposed project under consideration. The notice of this preliminary hearing was published as legally required. At this time, I will ask that the superintendent department explain the purpose of this hearing.
I would love to do that.
They must have gotten it from our last meeting. All right. All right, pursuant to Indiana Code 6-1.1-20-3.5, a school corporation must hold 2 public hearings and adopt a resolution to preliminarily determine to issue bonds or enter a lease for a project which has a total project cost in the excess of a certain threshold. These public hearings and the future consideration of resolutions are the very beginning of the legal process. We note that no board action is legally required at this hearing. Rather, this hearing is solely to hear public comment regarding the project.
We will now hear from Superintendent Harmon about the process of determining and communicating the project to the community and the need for the project.
All right, yeah, those of you that have kind of followed our meetings know that about 3 years ago, we started the process of doing a facility study. In that, we found we had some significant areas that we want to address over the next several years. A big one that is coming up is an HVAC project, which we already started that process to kind of move forward with securing funding for that project. This one is a little bit different. So this project, what we're looking to do here is we're going to term it as a unified project. There were some recent changes in legislation that limits the school's ability to issue bonds if its debt service rate exceeds 70 cents, unless the bond is approved through a public referendum. So moving forward, if in the future we want to take out a bond like similar to what we did for our dehumidification system, our roof, anything like that, if we want to move forward and try to secure funding for something, a big project like that, we would have to put it on a ballot for a public referendum. And that can only be done every 2 years. So looking forward and seeing the needs of our school corporations, buildings, and different things like that, we thought this would be the best route to secure funding for the future, excuse me. Our current debt rate right now for our school corporation is 0.6999. And our projections show that this will increase over the threshold of 70 cents next year due to the legislative changes with how net assessed value and property will be calculated in the future. Because of this change, the board is beginning the process to establish what is called a unified project in the amount of up to $10 million. This does not mean the district plans to borrow $10 million right now. The purpose of starting this process is to preserve the district's ability to access funding in the future if a significant facility need or unexpected expense arises within the next 5 to 10 years. These improvements could include site, roofing, paving, and HVAC improvements, along with the purchase of buses, equipment, and technology. So that gives us some flexibility there with a project like this. The process is required by the state is the same whether the district takes out $1 or $10 million, which is why the board chose to establish the project at that level to provide some flexibility moving forward. Overall, the unified project simply gives the school corporation financial flexibility and planning capacity so that if a significant need arises in the coming years, the district has options available without needing to start the entire process from the beginning and put that on a ballot moving forward.
We will now hear from Belvia Gray with Baker Tilly about how the proposed project will be financed, as well as information about the effect on the typical property tax payer.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Belvia Gray here from Baker Tilly. We serve as the school corporation's municipal advisor. Tonight I'm going to walk through a few slides of information. Because this is going through this process, you're not at this time authorizing any bond issuance. So tonight's presentation will look a little different than what the school's seen in the past because really, we're just sharing what the maximum parameters are that would be included, with knowing that if and when you're issuing debt, you would then have different hearings based upon that particular issuance. So similar to what we share with the school every time we come to visit you, we always look at what your existing debt service and lease rental payments are. This is the detail of those payments. You're currently at about $3.5 million of payments, and then those are going to dip down in 2027 by about 800-some thousand to 2.7 million. So if you go to the next page, that shows it a little more clearly. The school will issue some debt yet this year from the prior authorization that was received, a portion of that for the HVAC projects. And then there's likely to be a small portion of this authorization that may be issued yet this year as well. But that's all still to be determined, and the board will have, will be approving any debt that is to be issued in the future. So the reason I like to share this is this also shows the school does have a downward sloping debt structure, which is good, and for providing that flexibility. And one of the things Dr. Hardman mentioned was the school, because of some of the recent changes in assessed valuation, the school doesn't control assessed value, right? That's a function of some of the state and legislative changes. The school does have control, however, over the debt payments and the debt service levy that you levy on all of your taxpayers. And so the school's plan in our discussions moving forward is to really then keep the levy at the same level, which is $3.4 million. You go to the next slide. One of the other things that we like to share in these meetings is calculation of general obligation borrowing capacity. And just as a reminder, this is the amount of indebtedness that the school corporation can have in its own name. A lot of projects that could be funded through what we call GO bonds, but in a lot of cases, there are projects that exceed the needs of the GO borrowing capacity. And so the first mortgage bond process, first mortgage bonds are issued, and that is very customary for not only school corporations, but for all tax units throughout the state. For Oak Hill, it's always calculated based upon your most recent net assessed valuation. So that's about 475 million. Then it's divided by 3 and multiplied by 2%. Those are in state statute and our state constitution for those two numbers. So then you get a limit, and then you deduct from that any outstanding general obligation principal payments. So as of after July payments are made, the school would have a general obligation borrowing capacity of $1.22 million. All right.
So even though we have we're looking at taking out a $10 million unified project bond, we would never use any more than what we have capacity for to keep our levy the same.
Yes. Yeah, so when I'm on the next slide, this shows some of the maximums that would be contained or that are contained in the legal documents that the school board would consider for approval. And so, yes, Dr. Hardman mentioned we have, we've definitely included the ability for you to issue debt over a longer period of time, because the authorization that you would be getting would be, you would be able to issue debt under the authorization that you approved the debt under, right? So even if there are future changes in legislation, the school would be able to issue based upon the rule of law today. So the maximum borrowing amount will be $10 million. We expect that would be issued over multiple series of bonds, and that the repayment will be no more than 20 years, and that would be subject to, at the time of issuance, just looking at what the total overall debt structure is looking like. Some of the other things that we included that are maximums, and these are, I will say, just because of how the legal documents are written, we don't have a lot of explanation that we can do in the legal documents. So for the legals, we included the max payment at 3.4 million, which is also ironically the max levy that we're looking at. And the reason for that is the existing payments that you have are out through 2044. And the authorization that you'll have, it will allow you to issue debt beyond that time frame. So we wanted to make sure that you had flexibility there. And then again, anticipating that there are going to be changes in assessed value that will also impact how the rate might change based upon where it is today. Also keeping in mind that certainly taxpayers are also going to be feeling, and they're also going to be, assessed value is also going to be changing. So it's, in terms of the taxpayer impact, that is, that will shift along with the shifts in assessed value that are occurring. We also have included some percentages down there at the bottom. It's the current, and the current increase to your debt service payments divided by net assessed value, and then that also in comparison to other overlapping indebtedness. That information is part of information that's required to be available to taxpayers at these hearings. And Dr. Hartman has more information available, and it can be requested or can be provided upon request. That's all I have for the authorizations.
Thank you. Appreciate that. We will now open up the public hearing. Remember, if you'd like to speak, please sign on the sheet located on the table as you enter the room. As I mentioned earlier, we'll ask that you state your name and address, limit your comment to the proposed project and financing, keeping any comments to 3 minutes, avoid being repetitive if possible. Is there anybody signed up at this point?
No. Anybody want to just?
Okay. Well, thank you for being here for the hearing, and we appreciate your time and interest in the project and future of our community. Please note this is just the first step in the legal process. No board action is legally required at this hearing. Rather, this hearing is solely to hear public comment. The board will continue to work with the administration and its professionals to look for efficiencies to conserve tax dollars while meeting our educational needs. The board will hold a second public hearing in this boardroom on March 16th at 6 p.m. And that will conclude. If there's no other comments, that'll conclude this public hearing. It is kind of fun to use the gavel, but it's not real good. All right. Now I will call to order this board meeting of the trustees of the Oak Hill United School Corporation. I was never pretty good at that phrase. Anyway, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yes, we have two additions. One is in the area of donations, and the other is in the area of athletic camps. You can see there for donations, $250 donation to the class of 2026 senior trip from the Amboy Market, and athletic camp. There will be a spring training baseball camp, PK through 6, April 11th. So that would have been before our next board meeting. So that's why they wanted to get it on here, just to make sure it was approved before they did that. Those are just two additions, and we have included them down in the consent agenda under their appropriate categories. So you can see there. And there.
Okay. So do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Not sure who was first there. Mr. Dean's motion, and I'm going to say Mr. Green, maybe. I don't know. Any comments or questions about the motion? All in favor, right hand, please. Motion passes 6-0. All right, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Try not to break my neck. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Fun part, celebration.
All right, and now to the best part of the meeting. This is what we look forward to every meeting. So we have Mrs. Switzer, who is principal at Switzer Elementary School, and she is going to talk a little bit about her students of the month tonight.
Okay, this is Luke Wallace. He is a third grader. And in our corporation newsletter, it states, "We are so proud to announce that Luke Wallace has been named the third grade student of the month. He is a wonderful example of what it means to be a positive leader in the classroom. He is hardworking, responsible, and consistently gives his very best effort each and every day. Whether he is tackling a challenging assignment or helping a classmate, Luke approaches everything with determination and a can-do attitude. Luke truly shines during class discussions. He participates thoughtfully, shares great ideas, and encourages others to join in." Hold on 1 second. His teacher, Mrs. Cox, shares, "Luke is hardworking and gives his best effort each day. He does a great job participating in class discussion and encouraging others. His enthusiasm and sense of humor brings energy and joy to our classroom. We are so lucky to have Luke in our class." We couldn't agree more at Switzer. Luke is a fantastic role model for his peers, and we are so proud of the effort, character, and positivity he brings to our school each day. Congratulations, Luke. Keep up the amazing work. So Luke, when I called him down to my office, I called him over the announcements, and he was very concerned. And so, and he's never been in trouble, but he came down a little hesitant. And when I announced, "You're down here because you're the student of the month," he was so excited. And do you want to do we'll do a normal picture, and then can we show people what you did? Okay. Normal picture.
We'll do a normal picture. Perfect.
Okay, I'll do it with you. This is what his corporation newsletter picture is gonna look like. Ready? Okay,
Awesome.
congratulations. Yay. We had another one. Oh, I gotta get my phone back on. Cheney Farley was our fourth grade student. Cheney is kind to everyone and she meets and consistently demonstrates wonderful character traits that make our community brighter. Her teacher, Mr. Henry, shares, "Cheney Farley is one of the kindest and hardworking students. Cheney always gives her best effort, stays organized, and advocates for herself well. She is a blessing to have in class. We are so proud of you, Cheney. Keep shining and being an amazing student and the person you are." So Cheney was super, super excited as well. She was confused because I didn't remember this, but apparently she was picked in third grade and then again in fourth grade. So when she came down, she was like, "Again?" I was like, "Well, you must be that good." So, and our staff member of the month, it was Mrs. Tignor, Alexis Tignor. She's our social worker. Last week was Social Workers Week, and she's done a lot. She was at the high school, and now she's with us. And there's a little bit different workload responsibilities, like some paperwork that she used to not have to do, and she has to do that now. So she's jumped right in, and she's learning a lot of new things. And so we recognized her as our staff member of the month. So thank you. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Great. I will say your older son also is very responsible. Hadley likes to come up at the end of the day, dance a little bit. She kind of does whatever she can to kind of keep from having to get on the bus. And so your older son comes up and goes, "Let's go."
Takes that first child.
Yeah, he does. He does a good job of that. So we have 3 wonderful kids.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, on to a few more celebrations and recognitions that we wanted to acknowledge tonight. The Oak Hill Lady Eagle basketball team, they were state runner-up last weekend in 2A basketball, so they lost to Eastern Michigan. Our Oak Hill Eagle swim team placed 6th place as a team, which is the highest they have placed in, I think they've 40 years.
All right.
For a small school. So they did a great job. We had some individual winners as well as 2 relay winners. The 200 medley got 4th place. The 200 freestyle Cooper McQuiston earned 5th place. 50 freestyle Cale McCann 4th place. 100 butterfly Cale McCann 7th place. 100 freestyle Cooper McQuiston 4th place. And 200 freestyle relay 7th place. And then Evan Bledsoe in the 100 breaststroke earned a 16th place finish. So they did a great job. We also wanted to acknowledge a longtime educator at Swayze, civil law, passed away. And then Jim Law recently was inducted into the Indiana High School Football Hall of Fame. All right, on to, we have nothing for public participation.
Participation.
Nothing for
Okay.
public participation. On to the consent agenda. You can see here, we have a couple resignations, as well as some new appointments, mainly some extracurricular and substitute teaching. Retirements, Mrs. Crow, our Swayze 5th grade teacher, will be retiring at the end of this year. Donations and fundraisers, you can see there, we have a slew of donations coming in. We're very fortunate. We have a very supportive community here.
Do we need a motion for the consent agenda?
That we're still on that.
Okay.
And then the last of that is we talked a little bit about the fundraiser, or I mentioned the fundraiser already, but then athletic camps was the last thing on the consent agenda.
So do I have a motion for the consent agenda? Okay, we got a motion from Adam and a second from Justin. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, right hand please. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you. Continuing business.
All right, continuing business. Last month, we had our first reading of our Neola updated, revised, and new policies. We are on to the second reading. I have shared them with all of our principals, with various staff members like our nurses, our transportation department, in just having them reviewed. I've also shared it with CTA, just asking for another sets of eyes on this, if there's any questions or anything. So when you go into the board folder, or when anybody goes in to look at the revised policies, you can see here, in this particular one, let's see, we have one right here. Like the staff evaluation, there's been some legislative changes with our staff evaluation, so that's been noted in here, so some code has changed. So anything in red is deleted, anything in green is added. So as our staff goes through and looks at that, that is what we will make a decision on. And then if they are all, I guess if everybody lets me know by next month, if there's any changes or anything, that will be the final approval on them. So it's just a review of those tonight.
And we'll vote on it after April meeting.
Yep. If they're all kind of finalized and all changes made, then and there's no more questions on them, yep, we will do that then. All right, next on the agenda is to approve the amendment to the Gibraltar design contract. We talked a little bit already that we are moving forward with our HVAC project. Gibraltar is our architect on that project. And so they have, they've already done some work with us on the study of the facilities and on the projects that we just did with the roof and the dehumidification system. And so now we're kind of extending that. And this is why they're asking that we do an amendment for the upcoming project. So this will be an approval for the Gibraltar amendment to the upcoming projects. And that's based on a do not exceed amount. And they're kind of, it's in 2 phases, just depending on, remember when we talked about the project, originally there were different phases. There's the main phase of HVAC, and then there's some additional phases that we could do depending on where those bids come in. Because we can't exceed that 25.5 million. Hopefully we go way lower than that, but, so this is based on those 2 amounts.
I'll entertain a motion. Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion from Mr. Deaton. Second from Mr. Alberts. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor, right hand, please. Motion passes 6-0.
All right, next on the agenda is the appointment of Mrs. Rachel Winey to the, is that how you say that? Rachel Winey to the Converse Library Board.
Yes, so I've got a vacancy on my board. Very difficult right now to find people to do that. 6 of my 7 board members have to come from Jackson Township, Miami County. Rachel lives in the appropriate district. She's got 3 kids, gonna stay, here. So hopefully she is on the board and stays on the board. I keep having them leave, so I would ask that you please appoint Mrs. Winey to the board. She's a great library patron, so we need that.
I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Justin, second from Gary. I do have a question. How long is the
4-year terms, renewable 4 times.
4 times?
Yes, it's
Okay.
10 years total.
So does she realize that's possible?
I No, I told her she gets on here and she is stuck. She's going,
16 years.
yeah. So we'll start with 4 years, and
Okay,
then
we'll
we'll
go
go
from
from there.
All right. All in favor of the motion, right hand, please.
And I need to abstain.
I know you do. 5-0 with 1 abstention.
All right, next on the agenda is to adopt the resolution approving the form of amendment to lease. Now, this is moving back to our other project, our HVAC project. That resolution, you can see here in your board folder. Basically, the school corporation is funding this project through a lease financing, as it is done with other past construction / renovation projects. Lease financings are used by school corporations across Indiana in order to borrow for renovation and construction. This type of financing does not count against the school corporation's constitutional debt allowance. The building is currently subject to a financing lease. Therefore, we are amending that lease to extend the term and increase the lease rental due from the school corporation. In exchange for the extension and increased lease rental, the buildings corporation will use the bond proceeds to make the needed improvements to the building. The increased lease rental, as shown as maximum amount in the amendment to lease, will be sufficient to pay the principal and interest due to the bondholders. So basically what that is saying is we are approving another amendment to our already existing lease. Once you surpass, like, you can't, for this particular project that we're doing with HVAC, it exceeds our $10 million threshold to be able to take out bonds for that. We are going now to that next level where we'll actually have to take out a lease. So basically, we already have a lease out for our baseball field, for, I think we have a previous lease out from our 2013. The project done in 2013, I don't think what that is. But now this is just an amendment to approve to make an amendment to that lease and extend it. Was it
Track and football.
track and football? Okay. So this will be kind of an extension of that already lease that we have already formed. So that is what you're approving here, basically.
Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Second. I have a motion from Mr. Horner and a second from Mr. Beaver. Are there any questions or discussion about the motion? About legal consent.
I know, and that's probably the most confusing part about it.
All in favor of the motion, right hand, please. Motion carries 6.
All right, next on the agenda is to adopt a resolution reapproving the formation of the building corporation. So the school can't be kind of the one that oversees these leases. We have to have a separate committee, which is the Oak Hill Building Corporation, which is made up of others outside of our school board that are on that board that make those decisions. This resolution approves reaffirming or bringing that group back together. That we will meet again with, I will meet with that group next month, possibly before we have our school board meeting, but then we'll come together next month after the approval of reapproving their formation for this next phase.
Here again, we did a motion, right, to reform this.
Yeah, and basically it's an IRS requirement that we reapprove the building corporation and authorize it to issue tax exempt bonds on behalf of the school corporation.
And right now, there's what, 3 members? on
There's
this?
3 members, yeah. Yes.
So,
Michael Hicks is the president, Corbin Moses is the vice president, and then Ryan Smith is secretary treasurer.
have a motion from Justin,
Second.
second from Andy. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor, right hand, please. Motion carries 6-0.
All right, next on the agenda is the approval of the engagement letter with Policy Analytics. So Policy Analytics is an outside consulting firm that helps schools or other public entities, or basically anybody actually, it wouldn't just need to be a public entity. But they are able to run data for us, and it is specific to parcel by parcel tax information. So not many people can do this, or not many firms can do this, and we have reached out to them to see if they would help us as we start trying to understand and see the impact that the legislative changes that came about this last year are going to have on our school corporation when it comes to property tax. So Policy Analytics has agreed to work with us. They've already provided us 1 report, working on the second. Once they have the reports done, they're going to meet with us, and then they will go through those reports with you as well. So, or they will provide those reports to you as well, so you can see here.
I entertain a motion. Motion from Adam,
Second.
second from Scott. Any questions about Policy Analytics and the engagement letter? Hearing none, all in favor, right hand, please. Motion passes 6-0.
Approve the engagement letter with Easter and Cavosi. We have reached out to Easter and Cavosi to see if they would give us some guidance. We recently found some concerns that we have with our solar. And so they are ones that kind of help with construction, those type of situations. And so we have asked them to give us some guidance and have contracted or engaged with them for some legal advice. And so this is an engagement letter for Easter and Cavosi.
We need a motion.
I so move.
Was that you, Mr. Green? Motion from Gary, second from Andy, for the engagement letter with Easter and Cavosi. Are there any questions or discussion?
Just a quick one real quick. It's a retainer for now. How will invoices be presented once we work our way through the retainer?
So it's a $5,000 retainer, and then they will bill us depending on, and that's kind of why I pulled this part up, depending on which person works with us each time that we connect with them, will dictate basically how much each hour costs. The retainers kind of set aside basically, and then as they start working with us, they bill those hours, and then we pay it monthly, just like we do with our school attorney right now. So if we need legal advice,
So
if we have a question, we want
So
them
it
to
will be
review.
part of the claims that,
It'll be part of the claims, yes. So you won't see your first one until next month.
The retainer should be on your vouchers.
okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions, discussion? Are you okay, Mr.
I'm
Holmes?
fine.
Okay.
Just choked you.
I'm just thinking about
I got all choked up.
lawyers get you all choked up. I got it. I got it. All in favor, right hand, please. Motion passes 6-0.
All right, lastly, on the agenda for tonight is to approve the authorizing prepayment of invoices, and I'll let Chris kind of explain this and share with you what that actually entails.
So after some outreach from some of the other districts in our area, they informed me of an option that the Indiana School Board Association presented as far as prepaying invoices prior to a board meeting. For us, our current policy did not include any language of that nature, so I'm recommending that we have this authorization here. It would not go beyond the extent of anything other than utilities, our credit cards, or the food service that would be subject to possible late fees if you pay a late, or instead of discounts, if we pay early for it. So nothing beyond those numbers.
Need a motion?
So, second.
Motion, Justin, second, Scott. Now, did you say, Gordon, there's a discount if you're early?
Yeah, 1% rebate if you're early.
Okay. Where the other ones are probably penalties if you're,
Correct.
if
So
you're
our
late.
utilities and our credit cards,
Yeah.
we don't want to hit those rates.
Everything counts.
Exactly. Especially now.
And Heather, when Chris came on, Heather and Chris worked I would say diligently, trying to get some of those dates changed so that they didn't hit. So where we would have a late payment, they tried to move them back a little bit, and for some, it was just not possible. And for most, it was just not possible. So this is kind of the next step to try to keep from having to pay the extra.
Right. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor, right hand, please. Motion passes 6-0.
All right, last on the agenda, and I think I'll let Chris share this because she has spent the last 2 months, 3 months,
Shortchange it.
sorry, 3 months working with State Board of Accounts on site, no less. Some days 2, some days 5 auditors here, going through all of our information from July 1st of 2023 to June 30th of 2025. So she has got to spend the last 3 months getting to know them pretty well. And something to keep in mind, she's only been here for about, of that time frame,
24 months, 2 months.
yeah, of the 24 months, 2 months. So I'll let her kind of share what.
So a lot of it, obviously, because I wasn't here, was looking for a needle in a haystack many, many days. But overall, when we went through the exit conference, there were 4 findings, but very, very minimal findings. This is how the audit manager put it. We've already implemented new practices on some of the things that they want to see. It's more at a level of just internal controls, just extra layers of internal controls and making sure that there's multiple people in line overseeing different inputs and before things are produced. And so we've already established quite a few practices to change those things. And so we've got a lot of tips for our AFR in the future. Some of those things were funds were excluded, should have been included in. And I found email documentation support where those questions were asked to State Board of Accounts, and it just, I don't think the response was good enough. So overall, it went very well.
We'll get our final report. It has to be submitted by March 31st. So hopefully by next month, we'll have our final report that we can share with you and the public at that time.
I had the pleasure of sitting in on the exit interview, if we call it a pleasure. But
That's
They-
pleasurable.
their auditors had a lot of nice things to say about Chris and about our staff, and about Dr. Harvey. So that was really good to hear.
I had missed the incident with you, but the same Matt, the audit manager, stopped by the library because I'm an auditor as well. And he had nice things to say about Chris as well. Very complimentary, so good work.
It was day in, day out. So even at late at night, I know she was sending in information. So, yeah, I couldn't agree more. Chris has been great. She's done a really good job in getting some things in order. I think with that internal controls, I think you see that in smaller schools or in smaller, I would say probably entities that have, minimal staff in the business office. If you remember last year, we had a deputy treasurer, we ended up when they resigned, not hiring that position back. Well, when you do that, now you're a staff of 4 down to 3 in that business department. So that makes it more difficult. But they did put some things in place to address that. And I think the thing that Chris did, probably that helped us the most is like, help me. Like, if we did something wrong, we want to know about it, we want to correct it. So I think going in with that attitude and with that mentality, I don't know that maybe that happens all the time, but I think that helped us because that's exactly how she is. If she sees something wrong, she wants to make it right. So, thank you. All right. Anything else that the principals, do you want to tell us what's happening in the land of littles, the land of intermediates, and then the big kids?
We just finished Read Across America Week. We're finishing up our readathon. We're finishing up I Read. So we are all focused on anything with reading right now. So last week was fantastic. The kids had a great time. We focused on a series called Little Legends by Tom Percival, and the kids absolutely loved it. They got to investigate and be detectives, and they just had the best time. So it was really great.
And I got to read to the kindergarten.
Yes, she did.
Oh, wow.
And I want you all to know, she has a new title. She is the boss of the buses. That is what the kids said when she said, "Does anybody know what I do?" And one of the girls says, "You're the boss of the buses." So,
Can we get her business
I
card?
think that we need to add it to the business card.
I know.
They might fight me a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm shortening that, bus boss.
Yes, I love it. We'll get you a t-shirt.
Sweet Sarah, we are finishing up I Read 3 as well. We had Abe Lincoln impersonator come and do a speech which he said, I think he's been going there for over 20 years now. So he's fantastic. And then, I don't know, we have I Learn Checkpoint 3 coming up in a couple weeks. And then we'll have some results after spring break for overall on I Rate 3 and what our summer testing will look like. So,
Mr. Means at the junior high.
We have our final I Learn checkpoints coming out Wednesday and Thursday. It'll be a little more important this year than, well, we haven't had checkpoints in the past, but since I Learned results won't come out until the middle of next school year for us, so we're going to have to be looking at this data a lot more thoroughly to see where our kids have improved. So that's coming up Wednesday and Thursday. I Learn comes around the middle of April, I think about 3 weeks after we get back from spring break. We have our last junior high dance this Friday. If any guys want to come chaperone, you're welcome. And last swim meet is this Saturday. They're okay with invite. And then the last wrestling meet is next Wednesday at the CIC in Oak Hill.
This group dances.
I said boys on the right, girls on the left.
So they
No,
actually
like, they're
dance.
all-
They
they're
dance.
all
That's
out
awesome. That's
Sounds like
great.
a mob, right?
Yeah.
They kind of do that.
I love that. I
That's
love
great.
that.
Flash mob or whatever
That's
that's
so
called. They
good.
kind of all do it's a lot of TikTok stuff, I feel like,
Yeah.
actions to old songs like our songs.
I was hoping Devine was wanting to go, but he's not.
Oh.
Oh, we have a
yes.
few days, right?
Yeah, right. The peer pressure is really, those last few
College
months.
friends, college
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Berkeley hasn't even said anything, so hopefully she doesn't even know. So, because knowing her.
because you were go, so you
Yes. Yes, all right, Mr. Smith, the high school.
Speaking of dancing, all of you want to get out your tuxedo suit. April 18th, the prom, always looking for chaperones and adult guests to help supervise. So thank you for volunteering. So we'll get that information out to you here shortly. But on the academic side,
We have into the third 9 weeks, not doing the, haven't counted it up exactly, but with that, we're like under 50 days for the school year, so we'll go past quickly. And we'll conclude. And then SAT got off to a rocky start, not because of us. Shannon Smith and the counseling department has managed that and put that together, I'd say flawlessly, but they had a system error and breakdown, and so many schools across the state on the day that we had it scheduled as well had to cancel. Some got it in, many had to redo it. So we didn't want to wait until the following week just in case more problems ensued. So we did it 2 days later, and then we do our makeups and things like that tomorrow. So that should be concluding well before the deadline. It was the latter part of the week, and then athletically on the side there to echo Dr. Harmon's magical season in basketball, not just the state finals, but knocking off #1. And I actually had to look it up. It was the #1 biggest upset of beating Whitco. That was on the Herald website. Those of you know what that is. It was ranked #1 for the season. So in all the girls basketball. So from start to finish, overall, it's pretty darn good, pretty darn special. And then speaking of basketball, boys basketball is rolling as well. Got a sectional championship, looking to get a regional this following Saturday. If you've seen that, you know what I'm talking about. If not, definitely check that out because that's worth watching. And swimming, I believe in 43 or 45 years, if I'm correct, it's the second highest finish of all time for what's constituted as small schools in swimming. So that's pretty special. So, a handful of guys went out there and, outscored, all but 5 teams. So that's pretty darn special. And to their teammates as well. A lot of those guys, stuck around, helped them throughout the year in the, as they went from sectional to state. And so, if you were down there, whole team's down there. It's a pretty special thing to see, and enjoyed watching that. And then just throw that in, you mentioned wrestling, another sectional championship. So we've had a great academic and athletic year. Hopefully, we can keep that rolling and keep the winter season extended just a little bit longer. And I don't mind canceling plans on spring break to if we can get we can keep it going for hoops and then come back in the spring and wind it up. So been a great year from start to now.
I put these on my email today. The boys will play at Frankfurt. But some people, it sounds like, or I was told some people get Frankton and Frankfurt confused. So I just want to clarify. Frankfurt High School, the Hot Dogs, they play at 4 p.m. on Saturday against Benton Central.
And then I didn't forget the musical is next month, April 10th, 11th, and 12th. 5 shows, 3 days. So,
Really get home for
Bailey Stanley.
Okay.
I'll forward you.
I believe the public release is tomorrow.
Oh.
I believe. Is that correct? Am I accurate on that? I think so.
What were the dates?
10th, 11th, and 12th. Friday, 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday. That means and 11 shows. Frozen this year. So bring all the lows.
Yeah, definitely loves Frozen. We'll definitely be there.
And first time we've had a live pit orchestra since Beauty and the Beast in 2017, something like that.
Wow.
I'd have to check my date on that, but they're on a live pit this year, so that'll be fun.
Anything else anybody wants to share?
Yes, when you talk about the live pit, I don't know what that means.
A live pit orchestra, there are 2 ways to do the orchestra, recorded or live. With COVID and then after, we switched to recorded. Works a little bit better, helps for consistency because the music is exactly the same always. Live pit gives a more, this is theater, but there can be some unexpected with it too. So also allows the pit to vamp a little bit if something goes wrong on stage. Not that that ever happens.
Of course not.
And I want to point it out, there was Northwestern had their fire alarm go off, and I had nothing to do with it. It was not me doing the fog. So.
Mr. Costa, did you have something?
Oh.
Oh, okay. All right, just a reminder, Monday is the second hearing on the unified project, so Monday at 6 p.m. So that's a little different than what we normally, when we normally meet. And then our next regular board meeting is April 13th at 6:30 p.m. So don't forget, spring break starts Friday, March 20th. For those of you that I'm really jealous are going somewhere. And then we'll come back on March 30th to school. So they get spring break through the 29th. So enjoy. I'm jealous.
And we might be sitting in Indianapolis Saturday. So.
Well, let's hope.
Yeah.
I know I will be because I'm not going anywhere sunny. So I'll be in Indianapolis if we're there. So let's all go hope we are there on the 28th. Wouldn't that be cool? Somebody, Joe Haynes, you guys know who that is? He comes to a lot of our basketball games. He sent me a little tidbit. He coached soccer for a long time, so my daughter plays soccer. So he lives down in the Louisville area, and once we kind of connected on that, he's reached out a few times asking when she plays, but he said, Oak Hills basketball has more combined wins, boys, girls combined, than any other school in 2A with 48. They also have the best winning percentage. Freeman is number 2 in both, but cannot catch Oak Hill in percentage, and only in wins if they win the state. And we lose our next game. Not gonna happen. That's what he shared. So I think it's fun that even people outside of our community are so excited for our kids here and have been so supportive. They really have, like, just continually reaching out, even when they don't really know our kids very well, other than watching them play. So that's always fun.
I saw something today, I think it was Sagarin, can't remember if it was Sagarin or if it was Harold. They had us at a 95.89% chance to win the regional. They had us over 60% to win the semi-state, 25% to win the state. And those were the highest percentages amongst the teams that are still left.
That are still remaining.
Okay.
So
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yes, let's hope.
No pressure, of course.
Yeah, no pressure. Coach Rimmer will have a better play.
So, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
A motion from Justin and a second from Scott to adjourn. All in favor? Right hand, please. So that's a 6-0.
Andy, I need you to reset.
I'm originally from Frankton, so we were always called Franklin, Frank for everybody but who